Constipation turns out to be a very, very common diagnosis in my clinic and obviously around the country. So what is constipation? Constipation constitutes infrequent bowel movements or requiring a lot of straining to have a bowel movement or having very hard or pebbly-like stools that are hard to evacuate. That's the definition of constipation. So it turns out that it's very common. 20% of the population has constipation, and there's actually millions of dollars being spent on laxatives. And this is kind of alarming because we don't need these laxatives. I believe that a whole food plant-based diet would do a better job, and you really don't need laxatives. It's not natural. So if you're using laxatives to have a bowel movement, for the most part, there's something you're doing about your diet, okay? Hands down, maybe you have too much protein in your diet, not enough fiber. So you have to talk to your physician about that. Preferably somebody who understands whole food plant-based diets. So drinking more water doesn't help, you guys, and exercising doesn't work, okay? So what happens is as you eat, the food goes into the esophagus, into the stomach, then it comes down to the small bowel, and then eventually goes into the colon. So as it's going through the small bowel, the nutrients get absorbed in the small bowel, but more importantly, 11 liters of water or more gets reabsorbed into the blood system so you don't die of dehydration. The job of the small bowel is to reabsorb as much water as possible. A little bit gets absorbed through the colon as well, but mostly by the time the stool comes here, it's pretty concentrated and it just travels through and comes out. But drinking more water doesn't help, because the more you drink, the more absorption of water happens in the small bowel, because the body's job is to avoid dying from dehydration. So good luck if you're not eating enough fiber that could attach this water and bring it out. Without that fiber, that water is not going to stay in your bowels. When you increase the fiber, you're going to get more water into the stool and into the colon, where basically your stool is more hydrated. So exercise doesn't work. Again, your stool is going to be highly concentrated if you're drinking water and exercising but not consuming enough fiber. So good luck with that. You'll still need the laxatives. So there are two types of constipation. Constipation that's a slow transit constipation, that means the bowel's not moving adequately, or it has to do with the pelvic muscle dysfunction where the stool is here, you just can't evacuate it. Okay, but for slow transit constipation, which is the majority of the cases, remember, increasing your fiber will help. And actually avoiding meat and dairy will help, 100%. So the solution, increase the fiber intake and avoid meat and dairy. And I guarantee that would be very, very helpful. So an example of a very, very poor diet that is high in protein and fat and devoid of adequate levels of fiber is the Atkins diet. As you know, the Atkins diet is about inducing ketosis and all kinds of eating all kinds of bad foods like dairy and meat and not enough fiber. Okay, so what happened is when they did a study for people who were on the Atkins diet, 68% had constipation, 63% had bad breath, 51% had headaches, 10% had hair loss. Okay, I hope that was worth the weight loss, because they could have just done lower calories, or they could have gone on a whole food plant-based diet and achieved the same amount of weight loss, if not more, but they could have been healthier and not risk constipation, bad breath, headaches, and hair loss. This is not healthy, okay? This is unnatural. And of course, remember the Atkins diet that promotes eating processed foods like bacon, that also causes cancer. So I don't understand why anybody would want to go on a low fiber diet and risk all of these problems when they can go on a whole food plant-based diet, stimulate the GI tract, avoid constipation, and save money on laxatives. So again, if you're constipated, go on a whole food plant-based diet challenge for a month. And if you have slow transit constipation, say bye-bye to constipation with this new diet. I hope that helps.